The Garena Premier League got underway last week, and it had everything, from close duels, amazing team fights, surprising picks, comebacks, and even a match-winning pentakill. My name is Tim, and this is GPL Breakdown, where I take you through the past week of the GPL. Week 1 started off with two of the strongest Vietnamese teams in the region, Hanoi Pho Louis and Saigon Jokers. In an entertaining first set, all eyes were on the Jokers' new AD carry, Prince, who was faced with the tough task of replacing World Championship AD carry, Archie. But he showed he was more than capable of stepping up to the challenge when he carried his team to a 2-0 victory with relative ease. Game 1 was dominated by Saigon Jokers, who showed they were simply a step above Pho Louis and never looked like losing. Game 2, unfortunately, had to be forfeited by Hanoi Pho Louis after struggling with connection issues throughout the game. It just wouldn't be GPL without connection issues. The second game of the night saw the debut of Indonesia in the GPL with the Jakarta Juggernauts. They would go up against Singaporean powerhouse Team Fat Rabbit, a tough first test. Ultimately, TFR would be too strong for the newer Indonesian team. While the Juggernauts showed signs of a strong team, they were ultimately no match for Team Fat Rabbit. This game showed promising signs for the Singapore-Malaysia region, a region which has struggled in most recent GPL seasons. However, with the departure of veteran team Singapore Sentinels, a new leaf is being turned with the rise of new teams, specifically thanks to Insidious Gaming, who have bought 3 of the current 4 Singapore-Malaysian teams this GPL season. The second game began with one of the most hyped matches of the week, Mineski Globe vs Saigon Fantastic 5. Fantastic 5 were favorites to win the competition by a large margin, but would be forced to make roster changes throughout the offseason. Their new roster would be put to the test against the always fearsome Mineski. However, Mineski would surprise many with an incredible upset, featuring some amazing scenes including a poppy pick and a Jinx 1v4 pentakill to win the first match. Fantastic 5 would however hit back hard in the second match, taking the set to 1-1, the first and only draw of the GPL so far. In the second match of the evening, Vietnamese team Anphat Ultimate would go up against Thai team Infinite. Despite being a former GPL team, Team Infinite would never look close to Ultimate, who showed they were clearly a stronger team. Ultimate would cruise to a 2-0 victory, while Infinite would bring out some surprising picks, including a Jungle Kale and Jax, and a bot lane duo of Graves and Brand in Game 2. Ultimate were never expected to be a top team in this GPL, with average performances in the qualifier. While a win should not be taken as a substantial victory, it gives them a welcomed confidence boost going into the season, especially in what appears to be one of the toughest groups. Bangkok Titans are one of the 2 oldest teams in the GPL, yet have never finished in the top 4. This season could prove vital for them, as their chances for a top spot have been boosted significantly with the departure of the Taiwanese teams. Their first test would be against Game X War Gods, a worthy first test that BKT would pass with ease, winning the set 2-0. War Gods didn't look great, with improvement needed if they are to stay alive in their highly competitive group. This win is vital for Bangkok Titans, who need to secure a spot in the top 8 to see improvement, and a win over one of their rivals will help them greatly. In the final set of the week, Vietnamese team Asus Fate would take on War Gods PID Diamond. Asus Fate came into this match as huge favorites, with Diamond being one of the lowest ranked teams in the competition, coming from the lower Filipino ranks. Asus Fate went on to take the set 2-0 with no signs of struggle. A tough day for the War Gods sponsorship, with both teams falling to set losses. Asus Fate would play strong as a team, making it hard to pick out individual players. Their team play and coordination was on point, but really, they were just schooling a lower-ranked team. Moving on and looking at the standings after 1 week of play, Asus Fate and Bangkok Titans sit atop this group, and it looks as if it will stay this way. Fate and Titans play each other next week, a chance for both teams to prove they are number 1 in the group. Meanwhile, both War Gods teams are struggling at the bottom, and huge changes will need to come if either are to push into the top 2 of the group. Group B is much closer after the upset by Mineski. Ultimate now sits at the top of the group, but will be pushed when they play Saigon Fantastic 5 next week. Both teams need the win, or are likely to fall to the dreaded 3rd spot, which would see them miss out on a second group stage. Team Infinite looks set to finish last, unfortunately in a tough group that doesn't let them compare to other teams around their level. Group C also looks tight thanks to the wildcard that is Team Fat Rabbit. They've looked strong in Singapore, Malaysia, and continue to look strong in the GPL, even though it was just the Jakarta Juggernauts. The 2 Vietnamese teams, Saigon Jokers and Hanoi Pho Louis, were always going to be main contenders in this group, but Team Fat Rabbit will certainly press them. We will have to wait an extra week as Group C has a bye this coming week, where Fat Rabbit will go up against Hanoi Full Lewis. Group D is yet to play this season thanks to a round 1 bye. They resume matches this week, with 3 Singapore and Malaysian teams and a single Vietnamese team. This group is up for grabs as all teams have a decent shot at making it into the top 2. Games resume Wednesday 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, midday Central European Summer Time, and 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Be sure to subscribe to see more recaps, highlights, and breakdowns, and like if you want to see more. See you next week.